Welcome to This Explainer. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a story of absolute power, obsession, and a betrayal that literally shook the foundations of the Delhi Sultanate. We're tracking the meteoric rise and the incredibly bloody fall of Malik Kafur. He was a captive who, well, basically hijacked an entire empire. So let's just jump right in. Okay, picture the year 1299. During the conquest of Gujarat, the generals of Sultan Alauddin Khilji stumble upon a beautiful young captive. The Sultan's general, Nusrat Khan, ends up buying him at a slave market for exactly 1,000 gold dinars. Guys, 1,000 gold dinars. That was a staggering, mind-boggling fortune back then. Which makes you wonder, right? What did that extraordinary price tag actually buy? Well, for Alauddin Khilji, it bought a man who would go on to conquer the deepest parts of India in his name. But, and this is the kicker, it also bought the ultimate destruction of his own Khilji dynasty. Talk about a double-edged sword. And then there's this incredibly fleeting number, 35. After spending nearly 2 decades plotting, fighting, and manipulating his way to the absolute top, 35 days is the exact amount of time this slave survived after finally claiming absolute power for himself. Let's see how it all unraveled.
Part 1. The Thousand-Dinar Slave.
So when Kafur was first brought before Sultan Alauddin Khilji, a man notoriously known for his extreme cruelty, by the way, his stunning appearance and sharp mind just completely disarmed the ruler. But listen, Kafur wasn't just some ordinary captive. He was a Mamluk, a military slave. If you compare Kafur to other prominent slave commanders throughout history, like those in Egypt or the broader Middle East, you see this really distinct path to power. They were highly specialized experts, purchased specifically for elite military administration, not menial labor. Because they had absolutely no family ties to rely on, their loyalty depended completely on the ruler. It made them the ultimate instruments of absolute power. Because of that massive purchase price we talked about, he earned the famous nickname Hazar Dinari, which literally translates to the Thousand-Dinar slave. Now, historical accounts from the era, especially from chroniclers like Ziauddin Barani, they detail Khilji's deep, romantic, and homosexual infatuation with Kafur. This intense personal bond completely bypassed the Sultan's queens and his traditional courtiers, giving Kafur this unprecedented VIP access to the ruler's private chambers. As you can probably guess, a really dangerous dynamic quickly took hold. On one side, you have the royal family and these powerful nobles absolutely seething with jealousy over this intimate relationship. But on the other side, Kafur had the ear of the Sultan. His influence became absolute. He gave Khilji an unquestioning loyalty that the Sultan just couldn't find anywhere else in the court.
Part 2. Rise of the Commander.
Kafur wasn't just lounging around the palace enjoying his status, though. He proved his worth out on the battlefield. In 1305, he faced the terrifying Mongols at Amroha and delivered a decisive victory that permanently stopped their advance on Delhi. Then, Khilji trusted him with his absolute grandest vision, conquering the Deep South. In 1309 and 1311, Kafur led these massive, totally unprecedented campaigns into Warangal, Madurai, and Devagiri, completely subjugating them. And the wealth he brought back, it was unimaginable. We're talking hundreds of elephants and thousands of camels, literally loaded down with gold and diamonds, including the legendary Koh-i-Noor diamond. His tactics, however, were brutal. Seeking to prove his devotion as a converted Muslim, he destroyed prominent southern temples and forced the powerful Yadav, Hoysala, and Kakatiya kings to bow to Delhi. These massive victories definitely silenced those jealous courtiers. Kafur was no longer just a slave. He was rewarded with the title of Malik Na'ib, meaning the deputy of the Sultan. He went from a captive in a market to the second highest position in the entire empire. His word was, for all intents and purposes, the Sultan's word.
Part 3. The Sick Sultan.
You know, absolute power is a dangerous drug, especially when the source of that power begins to fade. In his final years, Sultan Khilji contracted a severe, agonizing illness known as dropsy. It left the once mighty conqueror completely bedridden. With the royal family distracted by their own greed, Kafur isolated the helpless Sultan and positioned himself as the sole caretaker. But historical records suggest a much darker motive here. Many suspect Kafur actually began slowly poisoning his master, mentally torturing him while literally just waiting for him to die. While keeping the Sultan isolated, Kafur totally capitalized on the dying man's paranoia. He used it to systematically eliminate his rivals. He convinced the Sultan that his own heir apparent, Hazar Khan, was plotting a rebellion. He sowed doubt about Alp Khan, who was a highly popular general and governor. He even targeted another royal prince, Shadi Khan. Kafur was basically turning Khilji against his own trusted family.
Part 4. The Bloody Usurpation.
In January of 1316, the mighty Sultan finally passed away. In the very moment his master took his last breath, Kafur completely dropped the mask of loyalty. His first move was chillingly calculating. He temporarily concealed the secret of the Sultan's death. Why? Well, to buy precious time to execute a master plan and seize total control without triggering an immediate uprising. And this plan was a masterclass in ruthless efficiency. Check this out. Step 1. Lure General Al-Khan into the palace and assassinate him. Step 2. Send executioners to blind the imprisoned princes, Khizr Khan and Shadi Khan. Step 3. Crown Khuzizi's 6-year-old son as a puppet ruler. And Step 4. Force Khuzizi's widow into marriage to claim royal legitimacy for himself. Just wow. Part 5. A 35-day downfall. But here's the thing. Gaining power through blood is one thing. Keeping it is a whole different ballgame. Like many prominent Mamluks in history, Kafur learned the hard way that slave commanders who grasp the throne almost always face swift, immediate rebellion because they completely lack royal blood. His reign of terror alienated the old guard of the Khilji army. Look at how incredibly fast this timeline moved. From Khilji's death in January to Alp Khan's murder, the crowning of a puppet in mid-February, and finally his fatal mistake in late February. By midnight of day 35, it was all over. So what was that fatal mistake? Well, Kafur knew that as long as any capable Khilji lived, his throne was threatened. His next target was Khilji's 17-year-old son, Mubarak Khan. Kafur sent 4 loyalist pike guards down into the dungeons with strict orders to blind the teenage prince. But this teenage prince was incredibly clever. When the assassins approached, Mubarak Khan offered them his jeweled necklace and made a desperate, emotional appeal. He looked at them and said, "I am the son of the Sultan." He awakened their conscience, asking them why on earth they were betraying the bloodline of their true king for a mere slave. And just like that, the assassin's loyalty flipped. Those same 4 guards marched straight up to Malik Kafur's royal chambers. It was midnight. Kafur was fast asleep, probably dreaming of his next move, when the guards burst in. They struck down the usurper in the dark, severing his head with a single blow. The very next morning, the head of the Thousand-Dinar slave was hung at the palace gates for the entire city to see. But, as history shows us, the cycle of blood always continues. Mubarak Khan, the 17-year-old who survived, took the throne. Yet, in a twist of brutal historical irony, just 4 years later, Mubarak Khan himself was assassinated by his own highly favored military slave, Khusro Khan. The violence of the Khilji dynasty had just completely normalized treason. Which leaves us with a really chilling thought to wrap up our explainer today. Did Malik Kafur's ambition destroy him, or was he just a product of a court where loyalty was always bought and sold? It's a profound reminder of the lethal consequences of transactional loyalty. When a throne is built entirely on the edge of a sword, it's really only a matter of time before that sword swings back. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning and keep learning.